Hi, and welcome back to the Talk of Success podcast, where we provide entrepreneurs and small business owners with insight, empowerment on how they can proceed with their journey. And for us, the best way of getting that is by having our guests talk about what they feel is their success and how they've managed to move forward in this journey. We talk about their pitfalls, as well as the advice that they're going to give to help you avoid them, as well as focusing on good takeaways and things that are going to motivate you in order to move you along on what I call the most exciting journey of all, being an entrepreneur. So my name is Dr. Jackeline Mejias Fuertes, and I am the host of Talk of Success, put together by the NJSBDC at Brookdale Community College, also known as MOSBDC, which stands for Monmouth Ocean Small Business Development Center. And for those of you who are not familiar with this amazing organization that I work for, our focus is to assist entrepreneurs as well as small business owners with getting to the next step, whatever that may be, whether it's an idea and help you flush out that idea to make sure that it's feasible and that it's going to make actual sense, or if you are actually in business and you're looking to get to your next stage, whether it's growth or actually whether it's putting together a succession plan, because, there's a big resignation, assignation, whatever you want to call it, in our workforce right now. So doesn't matter what it is at the NJSBDC, or if you look nationwide, it's SBDC or America's SBDC, you can find one of our small business development centers where we're here to assist you wherever we can, making sure we advise you or make the connections for you so you can move on this amazing, what I call amazing, because I've been there and I continue to be an entrepreneur, path. So today, I have the privilege of bringing to you one of our power couples. And I call them a power couple because when I met them, the things that I've seen them do throughout the years is amazing. I've met them 5 years ago. Actually, I met Jeanne Wall, which is right here, my left, and Terrence is to my right. They are a power, and I call them a power couple just because of the things that they are involved in. Both are involved in small business. Jeanne actually owns a small business, and she's going to talk about her small business. She actually has over 17 years in media relations experience, and I can see why she has the business that she has. And then I have Terrence, which Terrence actually is going to really focus in today on our Did You Know segment. And that Did You Know segment is all about resources. And Terrence does a lot of work with the government, actually. So today we're going to have one amazing podcast. So stay. If you're watching us on Facebook, amazing. If you're watching it on a recording, always reach out to us. You can see our website is there, mosbdc.com. Ask any questions. We'll definitely get back to you. But again, I am honored to have, like I said, this amazing power couple. They're from Holmdel, New Jersey. Jeanne Wall is the owner of Hometown News, LLC. It's a woman-owned business, publishing, which publishes TAPInto, and it covers Holmdel, Middletown, Colts Neck, Hazlitt, Keyport, and it's a local free daily news for those towns, and you get them online, right? And I know Terrence does work for Jackson, right, in local government there. So again, you're going to hear from these amazing individuals. I actually met Jeanne when I had I say I, but I always mean we, so excuse me there. When we at the Small Business Development Center had the local SBDCs, and by local I mean all those from Monmouth and Ocean County, come and meet so we can discuss what are the things that the SBDC should be doing to help the small business community. And Jeanne Wall, which is a co-founder of the Holmdel Chamber of Commerce, came. And I was happy to see her. And since then, she's been a wonderful ally to the Small Business Development Center, sharing information, allowing me to come and speak to the chamber so their members can be well informed as to the services that we provide to the SBDC. So I want Jeannie to give you and talk a little bit more about herself and how she got here. So, Jeannie.
Thank you, Jackie. It's Terrence and I that are honored to be here today with you. You're
Very
a
true,
success
very true.
story, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And I liked you from the second that I met you. And then I realized all the different connections that we already had in place. One of them being that you had brought some of our chamber members not only to local success, but national success. The entrepreneur with the swimsuit line. She credits you for really taking her to the not only the next level locally, but helping her build her brand and giving her just a wealth of information that is a testimony to all of the wonderful, amazing ways you're helping local business in Monmouth County and beyond.
You're too sweet.
No,
too
we're
sweet.
very
And I love
thankful
to say,
you.
I love that Jeannie goes me, but no, it's a team. Let's be real. It's a team. Jackie
Yes.
does nothing alone. So it is a team.
Yes,
Thank
you're
you for that.
wonderful team.
Our
It's
team is
true.
amazing.
It's all part of the
and
ripples in the pond, because with the Holmdel Chamber and other groups, and they're all wonderful. All the networking and the chambers of commerce that surround Monmouth and Ocean County and beyond, they're a critical part of businesses and their success, but not just business, typical private business, but nonprofits and other associations that are in the business of helping people, whether it's a private company or a nonprofit organization. And so the synergy there, as Jeannie had referenced about the one entrepreneur, that was from a meeting, just a simple meeting, a monthly meeting, making those connections, making those contacts. And the owner was inspired by your conversation, and that's how you connected. Yeah. And then it went on from there.
Yeah, definitely. And talking about team, the Holmdel Chamber is also a team. It's a team. It was started by a dozen
Yes.
folks that live and or work in Holmdel. And it had the blessing of Bellworks developer Ralph Zucker.
Fantastic Metro Burb, the
I know.
reimagination of one of the most iconic structures in the country.
Right, and that's where we're sitting here today.
That's what I was about to say, Jeannie. I was like, yes, which we have the privilege and the honor, thanks to a shared universe hosting our podcast.
We
Yay!
love a shared universe.
yes. That we're sitting here today in Bellworks. But Jeannie,
Yes.
I want you to tell us more about you and your path into success of entrepreneurship.
Thank you. I'm a graduate of Monmouth University. It was Monmouth College because it was way back then. It was very different, yes. And I worked in New York City, and I started out in television production. I moved into public relations and then corporate PR for Time Warner. And then I ended up working for a boutique PR firm. So I was very used to working with media and taking C-level executives on media tours to different television networks and things like that. And and I had one child, and then when I was blessed to have more children, I knew that when I took off work for a period of time, and I knew that when I was ready to go back to work, when our youngest was in kindergarten, that I didn't want to get on that train and travel to the city, right? So I decided I wanted to do something local where I could use my skills and my experience from the past and do something local. And that is when I founded Hometown News, LLC, and decided that I was going to franchise TAPInto. TAPInto is local daily news, covering over 80 towns in New Jersey. They're individually owned and franchised. So I launched TAPInto Holmdel and Colts Neck in 2017. And I had pretty quick success with that. People were really hungry for local news. There was an absence, an absence of that, in the way that it used to be, because people had moved away from print. Right, 90% of people are online.
Absolutely.
For their news now today. So TAPInto Holmdel and Colts Neck became successful pretty quickly, and then I launched TAPInto Middletown. And just recently, over a year ago, I launched TAPInto Hazlitt and Keyport.
So you're expanded.
Yeah,
Look
yeah.
at you. How nice is that?
It's wonderful. And it's not just, it's a wonderful platform for local news, but it's also community relations, public relations. From an advertiser's perspective, my advertisers, it provides them a platform for constant branding. I mean, they get the traditional ad, the digital ad, click-through ad, but that's more like their ticket into the ecosystem of something really great. Something very organic that provides a platform for community, community relations, public relations. And I love, all the different sections that I cover. Of course, business, health and wellness, community is so important to me. Brookdale Community College is one of my advertisers, by the way. And I love advertising for them because I feel like they are connected to the community. Their middle name
is community.
is community.
That's
right?
our host institution, in case I did not mention it before. It is NJSBDC at Brookdale Community College, which happens to be our host institution. I have to say, I'm listening to you, Jeannie, and what I love here is how you took your prior experience and created a business. You brought it locally to us because you do an amazing job. I get them, online. I read them. So you really have done an amazing job, and similar to you, I had the privilege of working from home when I moved to New Jersey. And when the business decided to sell back to New York, I just could not, my kids were young, and I just could not see myself. That commute, something goes wrong, how am I getting back to them in no time? Just couldn't do it.
Right.
So I really, really can feel that.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh.
And
So,
so working locally enables me to be able to have, I know with my oldest child, I feel like I missed out on the first 3 years, honestly. I was a busy executive. I was traveling all over the country with different clients. And I feel like you can't get that time back, and so I'm able to have a better life-work balance, I feel, with TAPInto, because it's hyper-local. So I'm in my local town. I'm it's local sports, it's local business. TAPInto recently did launch a section called Now in New Jersey, which does cover a lot of state issues. And that's great too if somebody's looking for some statewide news. But 98% of what you're going to read in my publications is going to be about what's in the local community.
I love it.
Yeah, and then everything's amplified on social media. So it's
I agree.
nice. Yeah.
So it is. It's
So
all.
I take those key stories that I feel would be of interest to my audience, my readers, and my social media network, and then I share those on social media.
That's amazing. I mean, I could definitely see, the decision process and why you did what you did, because I agree with you. Once those years are gone, they're lost and you can't take them back. And, I had a mentor once that would always say work-life balance, that doesn't exist, because one day, like your home life is what's important, so that's number one. That becomes priority, and the next day could be business. Is there ever a true balance? I don't think so, but we make do, and I think we do the best we can every single day, and I think that changes. But after what we have gone through as a nation, as a world, I think we look at things a lot differently than we used to. So that's pretty, important. Now, in doing that, what do you think you had to sacrifice to get to where you are today? Like, do you find, because now you stated, you were able to see your other three, because I believe you have 4 children,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So your other 3 children, what is the difference, right? You said you weren't able to see from your oldest, right?
Oh.
So in terms of work, though, because I know being an entrepreneur, running your own business,
Right, it's full-time work.
it's not easy.
Yeah,
I
it's
remember,
still a balance.
Yeah, I remember lack of sleep was number one on
Yes.
my books.
Yes.
That,
Hard work.
Who slept?
Yeah, I'm working on that. I'm working on trying to get, what I end up doing is, of course, the kids come first. So I'm taking care of everything with the kids. And Terrence is a wonderful husband and father, and he also helps so much with the children and everything else. But I do a lot of my writing late at night. You'll see a lot of my articles are published at like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. So, yep.
I know that feeling.
But it allows me to do that if I have to, you know. And I have to say that there are many towns that are not franchised. There are wonderful franchise opportunities for TAPInto in Monmouth County, and I'm the franchise liaison for that. So if anyone's interested, reach out to me.
Fantastic.
And I'm planting a seed in your ear too for anyone you might know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially if they have the ability to write, which is great.
And you can hire, like I have freelance writers as
Oh,
well.
look at that, making it even easier for that entrepreneur who wants to create an online publication.
And it's
And
so true.
internships.
Yeah, because listen, democracy dies in the darkness, right?
Absolutely.
So many national players in media have abandoned local news completely. You see over the years, the papers would get thinner and thinner and lighter and become more of a pamphlet instead of a publication. And so folks anywhere in Monmouth and Ocean County and beyond, they want to know what's happening in the local sports teams. They want to know what's happening at the planning board. They want to know about a controversial application and give inputs or be aware of that because it affects well beyond the front door to their mailbox. It affects their entire community. So folks still want to know what's happening in their backyard.
I just love the way Terrence, backs you up.
Oh, he's my biggest
I'm telling
fan.
You, I love this power couple. That being said, Terrence,
Yes.
a little bit about you, because all they know is you're Jeannie Wall's husband, and that I know there's more to Terrence than that.
That's quite enough for me. Yeah. No,
This is the other half
yeah.
of the power couple.
Well, I'll say, first of all, thank you again for having us on the podcast. The work of Brookdale and the folks and your organization is incredibly important for all the small businesses and all the entrepreneurs. It's really hard work because, for example, Jeannie may be working on the publication late into the evening. Another company, an accountant or somebody who runs a floral shop, they'd be trying to handle payroll well into the evening as well. And that work-life balance is, so critical. So part of how, we had gotten together as far as meeting you and other different entrepreneurs and movers and shakers and the folks that are making things happen in the profit and the non-profit sectors and the health and wellness sectors is through the Holmdel Chamber. Where that came about from my perspective, I grew up in town, went through all the schools. I just was recently reelected to the Board of Ed, a volunteer on the Holmdel Board of Education, and grew up here. Served 9 years on the Holmdel Township Committee, was involved in Rotary and the different organizations that are part and parcel of your community growing up, wherever that may be. And at a certain point, you want to give back. With the reimagination, the fantastic work of Somerset Development and Ralph Zucker and his team here being down on the block, in the metroburb now of Holmdel, it was time to have that local chamber. And other municipalities, other towns have that as well, and there are regional chambers of commerce that are fantastic. But having an area where folks can get together once a month to get excellent content, to want to come back and to learn and grow and network with a 100% volunteer group with no angles.
That's awesome.
yeah.
100% volunteer. That's really something. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
I'm just interjecting.
And so Mr. Zucker and his team were, graciously allow us to have these meetings here monthly, and we try to get guests that really give something to the community, give something back, give knowledge and experience. They may be folks that are from the educational side. They may be from organizations that work on really significant issues, pediatric cancer and things that affect folks across the board. Health and wellness. Recently we had drug addiction, such a significant and powerful issue with the travesty of fentanyl and the things that are going on. But having subject matter professionals that you wouldn't normally consider in a chamber makes it different. We'd like to think that we're different in that respect. But it's about giving back to the community, sharing what you know. And lastly, my background in public sector with working for fantastic municipalities over time, you're able to share, and maybe we'll share a little bit later, how entrepreneurs, small businesses have a whole different pipeline of potential clientele in the government sector, but sometimes they just don't know where to start. maybe we could talk about that a little bit later and give them a little bit of guidance and tips on how to get involved in that side to help build their business.
That'll be great, and we'll definitely cover that in the Did You Know section in a little bit. So as we keep on talking now, back to Jeannie, in everything that, you've gone through, I know that there has to have been some missteps along the way. And when I say that, what mistakes do you believe have given you the most significant lessons, though?
I'll leave now.
No running away, Terrence. No running away. No.
Yes. One comes to mind. You have to really learn how to say no, right? Mm-hmm. My nature, I love helping people, and I love. It's hard for me to say no to, of course, a lot of different nonprofits, and not that I even really say no anymore, but I know how to say yes, but I can only do this amount. You have to balance some of that, because helping others really brings me the most satisfaction in my career. Writing those stories about, I guess, those good human interest stories, how people overcame adversity, stories that encourage and give hope to other people. Mm-hmm. Those are my favorites. But I am asked to help with a lot of nonprofit, organizations, and I've been the co-chair the co-chair for many different galas and things like that, and that takes a lot of time. Absolutely. So I've learned how to still help in a lot of those organizations, but take a smaller role. And I really don't like to have my name on things unless I'm truly helping. You know what I mean?
Yes.
In the way.
Yeah, I get it. I fully get it.
Yeah. And also self-care. Mm-hmm. That's my thing for 2022. I don't know. I tripped coming out the gate, but I'm trying to, get better physically fit, get better sleep. I know sleep is a big issue that I need to address, and sleep affects everything. So
I'm with you. I
I'm
learned that
trying
as
to
an
get more
entrepreneur. I got that. It hit me hard. I was out for a bit because of lack of sleep, lack of eating properly, nutrition, even hydrating, and it all impacted me physically, and it put me out for 2 weeks, and I didn't like it.
Oh, wow.
Now, Jackie, and listening to what Jeannie's saying, Jeannie actually doesn't say no. I would say.
I love this, Terrence. So,
No.
Jeannie does not say no.
No,
Okay,
she may
Terrence.
say, what I think. I think that what I've seen, and I marvel at Jeannie's compassion and empathy for others. I've never experienced that in someone that's so profound. The difference with many folks in business, and the Monmouth Ocean Development Council had said at one point, enlightened self-enrichment. And that's okay, meaning that it's okay to do well, and you're doing for others, and you're also building your business. That's a good thing.
Right.
I will say, though, that Jeannie will just very naturally connect folks that she thinks need to connect that would help them, regardless of the enlightened self-enrichment part. And it's one of the most admirable from a business standpoint. It's an incredible fact for folks who know her. So I'd say she says yes, perhaps differently. And if you're balancing, what I've seen with Jeannie is that she never says no. But what I mean by that is, if need be, she'll say yes most efficiently for the organization, or connecting the network that maximizes the growth that they're seeking and the help that they need and that kind of thing. And that, I think, has been refined over the years as she's learning and growing and building this business. And so, because you want to, of course, always say yes, but it's true. You have, if you can't take care of, if you're not taking care of yourself properly, you can't take care of others properly. So
you can't give.
That's
if you
right.
Don't have,
that's right.
If the cup is empty, how what is there to give?
Yeah.
So it's constantly refilling the cup, and I get that. It's not about half full, half empty. As you constantly need to refill it in order to continue giving.
So she taps that digital Rolodex like nobody I know.
I love it.
It's true.
But much like you, Dr. Jackie, I like connecting the people and then stepping away and watching it. You connect so many people. You do the same thing,
I do.
you know?
Well, Exactly. Well, in my position as director of the Small Business Development Center throughout the years, like when I first started as the assistant director, I did a great deal of counseling. I saw a great deal of people one-on-one. And, a lot of those, I'm happy to say, are still in business. I provided the right advisory information. I made the right connections for them. But as my role changed, I can't see as many clients as I used to. It's impossible with my administrative role, but it's important for me to make sure that I'm always connecting with the resources, because I always I do give classes still. I'm still an instructor, and I remember who's in my class and what business they're starting. And if I receive an email, I will shoot them an email and say, you need to do this. And I will not, and I always tell them, I'm not going to give you a 3-page explanation why you should do it. I'm just going to go, hey, FYI, you should do this. It's on you. But, like you, it's important to connect. And that is what I believe the NJS BDC does as well. We know what our limits are because we're not a bottomless resource. Our resources, there's a cap to our resources and our abilities. And in doing that, we know that we have formed amazing collaborations, partnerships with different agencies, both on the local, state, and federal level, to make sure that, our clients, our business community, whether they want to be our clients or not, are receiving those resources. And that if we need to funnel them that way, we do. We're always trying to make sure that they don't fall between the cracks. But like you, it is about, like Terrence said, connecting, that it does come naturally. And like I said, everybody's shooting me an email telling me something. So I'm like, oh, I know who could benefit from that. And I'm okay. Like you know what? You don't have to put my name on everything. I don't want it there.
Right.
I just, it wasn't meant for everybody to hear that. But, you get to the point, you're like, thank you. I born and raised to give back to the community, and I will always do that for my entire life. But it's not about the accolades. It's more about, watching another business grow or another person find their passion and, watch that bloom. To me, that's amazing, and that I could see that. And I get to follow them, thanks to social media, that I'm like, wow.
Well, you'll find just from your podcast work, folks will come back at some point and they'll point back to an episode or some conversation that you had that inspired them,
right,
and helped connect them into a different part of their journey. And that's what's so exciting.
Right.
The ripples in the pond, as I referred to earlier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wrote that down. Ripples in the pond. I love that.
That's what it's all about. I'll give you an
Yeah.
example that
Yeah.
that does have to do with you. The woman that you helped with the swimsuit technology, actually 2 women.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
the 2 local moms.
Moms.
She was a chamber member, and we had Source Brewing,
Right. Her brother.
right? So she brought her brother because he was interested in that.
Right.
Source Brewing ended up helping her
With
brother.
Right. The
He
brewing.
worked there, but they supported him in opening up his own brewery.
Right.
So those connections, they do go back to you.
Well, it's all about
And you-
education.
like the
because
ripples
if
in the
we're-
pond, though, like he's
That's
talking
true.
about. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I love the connection.
So let's go have a.
I know, right?
beer
Give me a
at
beer.
Let's go to
Let's have a
alternate brewing, right?
That's right.
Alternate. That's right.
Alternative
Alternative
brewing.
brewing. They're
Yeah.
in Matawan, aren't they?
Yeah, and they're in the old movie theater, which is
Right.
very cool.
Yeah.
Alternate
Because I think
ending,
they
I think.
Alternate ending.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
yeah.
Alternate ending. There we go. Yeah. So nice plug for alternate ending.
And Source Brewing.
And Source Brewing.
right.
You gotta throw them in there. Right?
And Dr. Jackie.
Exactly.
So yes. So now I want to ask, and this will be to both of you, and then we're going to get into the did you know, because I want to leave enough time to really talk about the various resources that are out there with Terrence. But we did that. But what are 3 action items that you would recommend and why to an entrepreneur or a small business owner? So think about that. Ooh,
3
I know.
action items.
3 action items. I always love action items. Think of, what is the 3 things that you figured, I wish I had done this versus that, or, the guidance I received over, what do you think it is?
I think time management is so important right off the bat. Time management.
very, very important. And to follow on that to an extent, we're talking about different things that folks are doing late at night and that work, that grind that's going on later at night. And that could be really frustrating. And they could think of that as perhaps more of a motivation, is that you're building equity in your organization, in your skill set, in your company. And so while at the one hand it seems really hard and very lonely sometimes, that you're building equity for the future, whether it's for yourself, your family, your business, the folks that count on you. So to try to reorient the thinking as equity building rather than feeling that strain and that pressure at 1 and 2 in the morning, to reorient your thought process and be patient with yourself and give yourself that flexibility. Be patient with yourself and forgiving if something goes left when it's supposed to go right. That's okay. Just go forward.
It's a learning experience.
I love
right?
that, the be patient with yourself. It
Yeah.
took, everything, again, what our nation has gone through, that's something that some people still have not, I want to say, taken the opportunity to learn. And to me, it's critical in order for them to continue moving forward. I think for myself, I hit the wall, like at the end of last year, or, third quarter of last year. I just got to the point that I just said, it was like, 18 months, more than 18 months
Hard.
in, and I just hit the wall, and I just said, wow, I have great work ethics. I have integrity. I'm paid to do something. I need to do this. And yet I felt I was so stuck that I could not. And I said, I know what this is. I need me time. Pandemic took away my travel. And travel,
You
I
just
learned
made
a
up for
long
it.
time ago. A long time ago, since I was 18, since I was 17, I've been traveling every year, at least a few times a year. And with the pandemic, that was put
It
at
took
a
it away
halt.
from you. Yeah.
And that, to me, that's my release. I could walk around. I could, I did that. I walked around. I tried so many things, but that wasn't enough. And at Brookdale, we closed down during the holidays, right? Christmas. And I remember seeing the president, and he goes, so what are you doing? I said, well, I'm going to unplug. And David goes, yeah. And I was like, oh, my God. Is that apparent? I don't know if he meant it out of kindness or,
is
just
so
conversation.
kind, yeah.
But I was like, oh, my gosh. Really? It must show in my face. He's like, yeah, unplug. And I was like, I don't even know if he
He's in tune, though,
realized
with
that,
people, I think.
that
Yeah.
how I took it was like, oh my gosh, the president of the college could see it in my face that I need to unplug because I was fried. But coming out of that, I did a lot for myself. And I said, going back to being patient with yourself, new thought processes, that allowed me to, coming back, thinking differently, giving myself the time, the meditation. I started tapping. I started, doing so many things for me that allowed me to like breathe and say, oh, I could breathe again.
Take
Now
an inventory.
Yeah.
Right.
And say, wow, now I could go back to, I won't go back exactly to the way it was because now I know that I have to check out every now and then and
Right.
that's okay. That everyone should be allowed
Refuel.
to check.
Let's go on vacation.
Yeah. So that was time management. So give me 2 more.
I think overcoming fear, right? Like sometimes I'll get myself worked up about something, an event, or I don't know, something like this maybe.
Right.
And then when it's over, I'm like, why was I so worked up over that? Why did I allow that stress to invade the pre-time when it's not such a big deal to overcome, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I
We're
get
all
it.
human,
I get it.
And
one of the things I learned during my whole thought process had to do with fear. And fear is what you think. And you have to change the way you think. Because everything is a thought. So the reality is that really coming here to do the podcast, it's not like if you've never done a podcast before.
It's true, but I still, I want to make sure that I do the right job and that I get the right messaging that.
But you will.
Yeah,
You always do. So
And then it turns into a nice, relaxing conversation with you. So it's so easy with you. Yeah.
But it is. But you're right. Overcoming that fear. I think we need to look at fear differently. And I wish I had my phone with me right now, because if you Google the acronym of fear, there's two ways of looking at it. And I don't have it with me.
Like,
so
he's
I don't
never afraid of anything. Like,
That's
nothing.
awesome.
He has like no fear. Someone could be attacking him and he doesn't care.
Say
Who
who?
cares? That was funny. I'm like, oh my God.
So how do you handle that, Terrence? And you go around,
I think there are people out there that just are not happy, and they take their unhappiness out on other people instead of taking stock on their own world and perhaps having better ideas instead of attacking yours. I would say get a better idea. That's okay. Get a better idea. I've also learned over time, and this is through making mistakes too, is have some perspective on what level of attention you give something. So, for example, there are level 10 issues out there. Give it level 10 attention. Don't give level 10 attention to a level 2 issue, because I assure you nobody else is.
love that advice.
Yeah,
I love that advice.
Yeah, so if you simplified it, and it'll save you an extraordinary amount of time, and it'll also help you determine who's in your world and who you're sharing your time with, and help you make better decisions at that moment too. So if there's an issue that's really important, well, dive right into it, 100%. But if there's an issue, it's kind of in the middle, it's more of a level 5, however you define level 5, give it level 5 attention. Don't give it level 10. I call it, you don't need to kill a fly with a hammer, as an example.
I love that. I so love that.
Yeah.
You don't need to kill a fly with a hammer.
It's true. Like in life, there are things that
You're
are
right.
extremely important, and they should get level 10 and then some. But there are so many different day-to-day things that are so not worthy of your time, attention, energy, that may have a construct that may be based on some others, either insecurity or jealousy or envy or hatred or whatever basket of ills that aren't your problem. You don't need to make that other person's problem your problem. And so you let in what you choose to let in. Like you were mentioning a little bit earlier, we control our own emotions.
Right.
Now, we're all human, right? But that, I think, is a good way to kind of gauge your time resources a little bit better, and sit back and say, is this really important? And I do too. It's like, well, you know what? That's actually not that important, and you have to think it through and maybe speak to the folks in your world that you trust and think. I mean, I've been blessed with a fantastic gauge of, does that matter? Absolutely not. So, you're right.
What a barometer.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah,
I'll let you know one way or the other.
And that's when you're really fortunate when someone makes you a better person. Jeannie's absolutely made me a better human being, and I'll always be thankful of that. But I think people being patient.
He's a keeper.
He's a
Always.
But
Oh
people
my God.
being
He is
patient with
sweet.
themselves and thinking of that during those harder times, you're building equity either in yourself, your family, your company, and to Jeannie's point, is it that level of stress or temperature, or when the program, for example, is concluded, you're like, wait a minute, wow, that was great, and that may apply to a number of other things in life as well.
Yep. And that leads me to another thing that, 'cause I
Okay.
think we have a third
A
point,
third
right?
one. Yes, we have
I have learned to trust myself, like trust my gut, trust my instincts. I'm a very spiritual person, and I can, very intuitive, and I've learned to trust that more now in business too, and it's helped me a lot. It's helped me not waste time.
That's nice.
I
like that.
save time.
Trust your instincts to save time. And I agree with you on that. Again, something else that, again, putting everything in perspective. And you're right. If my gut, and you know what, I learned to trust my instincts when I entered my 50s. And I was like, why didn't I learn this earlier in my life? I could have saved myself so many headaches and, just went and did things that, I questioned
Right.
or were questioned, and that I just didn't trust myself. And every time that I went against my instinct, it blew up in my face.
Yeah. If we knew then what we know now,
I
right?
know. So
Yeah.
hindsight, but you are absolutely correct. Trusting your instincts. And, I think we all have that. I said, I have yellow flags in me and red flags, and I've learned not to let them get to the red flags anymore.
Yeah. And I would say learn how to handle negativity and when people are negative, because that's hard for me. I'm a very positive person.
I ignore it completely.
He's like, nothing bothers him. It rolls right off of
I
him.
love that.
Okay.
Nothing bothers
It's true.
Terrence.
He has the biggest heart, and he feels for other people. But it's about the important things. It's not about all the nonsense and noise. And he is not afraid to stand up for what's right, for the community, for other people. And I think that's very admirable. And he doesn't care what people think about him.
No, I'd say-
He'll be the one standing with the person maybe that doesn't have anyone standing with them, but in his mind, that's the person that's right and needs
Or
support.
shares his
yeah.
belief. Which
Say if
is,
everyone's saying only wonderful things, you're not working.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
So,
wow, that is something, because it's true. I mean, and I know I've mentioned it in podcasts in the past. I love my 4 agreements, right? I don't know if you ever read the book The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And in his 4 agreements, one of the agreements is what other people think of you basically is none of your business. And he really follows that.
Good
Then
point.
he says, because it's theirs. What they think is theirs, it's not yours. So
I like
they
that.
don't need to share that with you. He has one about speaking impeccably, use your words wisely. How are you using them? Because it goes into your thought. How is it that you're thinking? What is it that you're saying? That has, thought manifests
Yes.
itself into your reality. Slowly but surely, it's going to, go there. I'm telling you, if you ever have, it's a
I want to
quick
buy
read.
this book now. We'll be
Actually,
ordering it.
it was one of my low days watching Oprah years ago that I was like, oh, that book kind of sounds interesting.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, I have the 4 agreements pinned on my bulletin board in my office, and I use it in so many different ways through work. Because when there's a disagreement in the office, or I'm feeling a certain kind of way, my dean pulled that number on me once. She goes, really? Have you been looking at your 4 agreements lately? I was like, oh, didn't she just call me out on that one? Okay. I was like, yeah. I'll go read my bulletin board. It's stuck on my bulletin
It's a
board.
reminder.
You're absolute.
No.
Yeah, because I do need it as a
I
reminder.
like that. That's probably my golden nugget. I feel like I pull a golden nugget out
Yeah.
of every type of meeting, or even if it's something that's, not that exciting, there's usually a golden nugget. That's my golden nugget from today.
Yeah, so I'll try to get it. Small book, but powerful. And I have to say, it's wisdom. It's a wisdom kind of guide type of book. And like I said, whenever I'm feeling some sort of kind of way and I'm on vacation, that's kind of my go-to book. Then
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I need to reread this, and I get something else out of it, because they are crucial. And I said, once you learn to kind of live by those agreements, everything else kind of falls into place. And I just have to remind myself every now and then.
And you're making me think that, you're talking about golden nuggets, if everyone asked themselves the questions that you just asked to foster that thinking, what are your mistakes? Well, what would you do better? What are the action items? Right?
Right, to turn around.
Self-talk.
Yes, yes. And that's it. And it goes back to, with time management, taking that time, though, to talk to yourself, looking at it, and the whole point of changing the channel to overcome your fear. And when I go changing the channel, it's in your brain. What is it that you're visualizing? What is it that, what are you telling yourself? Because to me, those are affirmations, positive or negative. It's whatever is coming out of you.
Yeah.
So looking at it and saying, what am I thinking here? So every day when something is starting not to go right, I'm like, whoop, take your 30 seconds, change the channel, Jackie, take a deep breath, and now let's proceed. Because you you give yourself the break. I mean,
feel like we had a therapy session too. I feel good now.
Get the cocaine.
No, but
It's
now
wonderful because now
yeah.
we'll share those. Like, I'll
'Cause
share
they
that
are.
book. know?
Absolutely. So no, because we're getting close, but not to the end yet. Because I do, like I said, in our podcast we have the Did You Know section, and Terrence, like I said, is very much involved with doing work with the government, which is an area that for small businesses we tend to call procurement. But from Terrence's perspective, the importance of businesses getting involved with the government because from a federal standpoint, the federal government is the largest consumer of product and services in the world, our federal government. So take that into account. But on a local, on a state level, there's things that you can do for your business. So Terrence, share with us.
Sure, I'm happy to. For the businesses that are listening and that may listen in the future, are you working in local government or not? Are you working in county government or not? What I mean by that, are you one of their vendors? Or whether it's, I'll give you an example, if you're a podcast company, are you hosting podcasts on site when they're involved with having department heads come on, say it's public works or it's finance, they're going over the local budget, and it's a discussion that's hosted by a podcast company funded by municipal government in their operations budget, that's designed to organize and communicate messaging to the public so they understand where the dollars are being spent. Or maybe you're a florist, a local florist, and the local government isn't aware that you're in town or you're available to create arrangements and other different things. Folks have put together these beautiful baskets and different things, being on vendor lists. So government is often very daunting. It's like, well, I don't work with government. Well, you can, and they have a purchasing process is very straightforward. If anyone's interested in and they could be an accountant, they could be an attorney. There is no shortage of a need of good, solid folks, business, restaurants, for example, catering, different, you name it. The business of government is very big. So how do you get started? Well, first you call and ask for the clerk or ask for the purchasing agent, and you start a conversation. Just introduce yourself. Or if you have a restaurant, bring over a menu. If you're a florist, bring over some of the things you do. If it's a podcast company, bring some information over, or make sure you're sharing with them. Why? Because they're actively procuring different things from time to time. And very often, don't be surprised if they don't know who to call. There may be a good or service there that they need, and like, who do I call? And you would think that maybe they already do know. They don't necessarily know. You may have different folks, administrators and other staff that are new to it, new to government, that need to know about the goods and services. So what can you do? They operate on what's called the local public contracts law, which talks about how goods and services are purchased up to what's called a bid threshold, and it's been revised to $44,000. So sometimes you think of sealed bids and things like that, like road projects, big projects, things of that nature. But there are so many different things that are under $44,000 where they're required to get two proposals, for example. They have to be fair proposals, and they look at it, price and other factors considered. So what does that mean? Local government and county, they don't just purchase on price. It's price and other factors considered. So if you have unique software, as an example, or a unique software service, or something that might be related to art or design, which may fall under what's called an extraordinary unspecifiable service, as an example. Contracts have some competition to them, as well as it could also be a sole source provider. My point is, if you haven't walked in the door of government, it's really simple. They're open, and tax dollars are paying for them. So you have buyers of services, recreation departments may need various types of programs and products. You may be an aerobics instructor. You may do all kinds of different things that you may professionally or as a a manufacturer of goods or services. They are a buyer. Like, think of them as any other buyer. It just happens to be government, and they are very much interested in hearing from the folks, especially in the local area. Most municipalities like to work locally, and but if they don't know you are there, you're not able to partner with them. So I would just my overarching advice would be, don't be shy about it. They're working there. They're trying to provide value to the community, which is their role, and they all the guys and gals that are in those departments, they may very well need what you have, but for not knowing you exist yet. So close that loop and add that to your regular business prospecting, and you'll be really surprised at where you can go. If you do something that's on a larger level, the state has what are called state contracts, and if you're on a state contract list, you can contact anybody. Obviously, reach out to me, and I can give them the contact information. But if you're a provider on a state contract list, if a municipality wishes to use your services, any particular municipality, it's a single resolution because it's essentially pre-bid, and that enables you may be able to scale your business beyond your wildest expectations and provide an important value to the community within which you work.
That's amazing, Terrence. Thank you for sharing that information, especially on the local level. And with our NJSBDC, we tend to prep small businesses really to work on the state and federal level, but on the local level, the opportunity is there, and it's greater, and it's in your community, so it's close to home.
And schools, too.
Yeah, so look at that, school as well. Terrence, share your information. Just say where if they would like to reach out to you, if you don't mind. Where would they?
Sure. If anybody wants to reach out to me, I'll provide my
For a
email.
question?
It's tmwall, my initials, TMWALL @comcast.net, and be happy to respond and share any information that I can help them learn and grow with your entrepreneurs and your small business development that you're doing here. And thrilled to have an opportunity to share some time with you today.
Yeah, thank you. So we're getting towards that time, towards the end of our podcast, and I have to say I've had an amazing time sitting and talking with both Jeanne and Terrence Wall. Like I said, the power couple of Holmdel, because they are. The information they've shared with you guys today has been truly amazing, quite informative. If you're listening now, great. If you're listening to it at a later date, worthwhile. Take the time, listen to it, look at your, especially this section with Terrence here, the Did You Know, especially if you're interested in procurement and seeing how your business could work with local government and how you could get your foot in the door, because that's one step. And from there you could go to, local, then state, then federal. And it is an opportunity. It's a revenue stream when you look at it from a small business standpoint. It is government. They do have funds. So make sure if your business, and I have to say all businesses probably qualify one way or the other.
Absolutely.
And how many municipalities are there on 500 and
Right.
something?
Well,
Yeah,
So
I know.
there's
I know there's 21 counties. So
Yeah.
imagine, and within those counties, how many municipalities, within that alone? So yeah,
over 500
yes.
opportunities, right?
Yep.
So think about it. If you're a small business owner and you're looking to take your business or looking for a new revenue stream, think about government. It may appear daunting at first, but as you dive into it, you become familiar with it. It is an opportunity to develop a revenue stream, which is fantastic. So for us, we will be ending it. And again, I had such a wonderful time with both Jeanne and
Likewise, we did too.
Terrence.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thank you for honoring me with your presence and sharing your
Likewise.
information. The action items were on point, looking time management, overcoming your fear, and trusting your instincts, all hit home with me at one point or another. They're still hitting home with me as I keep on moving forward as a lifelong learner. So with that, I bid you all a good day, and watch out for us. We will be coming back with another podcast here with Talk of Success. Take care. Dr. Jackeline Mejias Fuertes saying
care.
goodbye with Terrence and Jeanne.
Thank